Hi everyone, I'm gonna be doing another 3 looks 1 palette. Yes, I'm definitely trying to play catch up with my queue. I hope you guys are excited for it. It's gonna be the Oden's Eye Solmane II. I don't have the first one. I find Oden's Eye before Legendary Diversa was not really my favorite. Aside from Cat's Breath, I don't actually own anything from before then. I used to own a couple and then I just kind of sold them, passed them on. But ever since Legendary Diversa, I've definitely been way more interested in their shadow formula because I found Legendary Diversa to be a really big step up. I found Hella's mattes to be a big step up, but the shimmers were kind of a letdown compared to Giant Wolves and Red Dragon and Hummingbird. I found that those shimmers were like, they just blew me away. But so I was hoping with Solmane II that I'd be looking at a palette with the shimmers that I love and maybe like the most amazing mattes from Hella. And then you kind of get the best of both worlds, right? I did get the restock and here's what it looks like. I'm so excited to play with this. I'm gonna get started. So I think for the first look, I'm going to do something. So I've been having yellow and purple on my mind lately. So I'm gonna do yellow and purple and then I'll do blue and orange for the second one. I have the Peiliee eye base on today. I've just kind of been liking using that again recently. So I'm gonna start off with Warm Light, which is the yellow. Because oftentimes with the yellow, if you try and pack it on, it starts to look powdery and it makes your eyelids look really dry. A good yellow obviously won't do that. Like for example, I did find the yellow in Feral from the Menagerie to be a little bit tricky to use. I always hate disturbing the embossing, but I never actually work through an entire eyeshadow anyways. I'm gonna put this shade up here. Yeah, that worked really well. No complaints there. I've been hearing a lot of really great things about this release, so my expectations are high. Awesome. I like how that looks so far. Okay, so I'm gonna wipe off the brush and I'm gonna go into Dream. I want Dream to kind of go on my eyelid. And so when I pick it up on my brush, a lot comes onto the brush. This is a powdery formula, but at the same time, it's laying onto my eyelid very smoothly. And I'm not getting that powdery appearance I do other eyeshadows I don't like as much, like Morphe shadows for instance. They'll just emphasize all of my dry patches and they won't lay down smoothly. And I'm not really gonna mix them too much. I don't want them to mix too much right now. I'll mix them later. And I really only have to push the brush very lightly into the pan once or twice to get that full coverage on the bristles that you're seeing. If you do rub your brush into the pan too much, you will get some kick up. Okay, so I'm liking that so far, so I think I'm gonna start mixing them a little bit now. Mostly up here in the outer corner where I didn't put down as much of the yellow orange. You do want to be careful with mixing yellow toned shades and purple toned shades. When you're mixing yellow and purple, the blue and the purple and the yellow can start to create green, and it's not a nice green. I mean, it could be if you're into that, but it's a really strange green, so you just always want to be careful. Now this is a very orange toned yellow and this is a very pale lavender, so I don't foresee there being any issues. As you can see, no green. And these are blending so well, so this is definitely reminding me of the mattes from the Hella palette where it blends out super well. But yeah, I'm really liking it so far. I'm gonna switch to a Sigma Exact Blend E32. I was using a Sonia G Jumbo blender earlier. I'm gonna switch to this. I'm gonna take Galaxy, which is that deep purple, and it is more of a red purple than a blue purple. And I'm going to start adding depth. I'm like a little iffy on where I wanted to put this, but I think I'll go with my initial gut feeling of putting it right out here. And I'm using this Exact Blend brush because I definitely don't want it going anywhere it shouldn't. Okay, so the fact that it's a little bit more red toned kind of clashes with the lavender a bit. I think this should be okay. This placement should be okay. This shade doesn't seem to be building up to be super, like, you have to kind of build it up to get it closer to what it looks like in the pan. As you can see though, it does blend out with pretty minimal effort, which is cool. I'm gonna use a Rephr 03 and I'm going to start putting that on the lower lash line as well. And then I'll just kind of leave that right there. I'll also use this 03 to build it up more. Yeah, so I'm not really able to get it super true to pan. Okay, and I'm gonna switch over to this really tiny Hakuhodo brush. It's like the world's smallest blender ever and I really like it. I like it so much that I have 3 now. So I'm gonna use this to try and build it up a little more and also blend it a little more too. I'm so sad that Hakuhodo raised their prices. Like, I understand, but at the same time I'm really sad. And then I'm gonna blend out the lower lash line using Warm Light. It's gonna kind of give off like sunset vibes. So you can really see it right there, the blend. Okay, so I'm gonna call that good enough, I think. I don't want to push it anymore. So now I'm just going to add in more of Dream. I'm going to start bringing that shade up into the yellow. Okay, so now this all needs to be repeated on the other eye. So I'm going to try my best to do that. The blend is definitely really easy to work with. I do definitely appreciate that. I do feel like Dream is ever so slightly inconsistently pigmented on my left eyelid versus my right one. So I do feel like this shade is fine, but it might be a little bit more high maintenance with how you need to prep your eyelids to get it to look the way you want. It still looks fine, especially from far away. You can tell there's really not much of a problem, but I do feel like for my eyelid at least, it does seem like there's kind of a limit to how much I can put on, at which point it doesn't want to layer anymore, and then if it kind of fades. This shade I feel like is probably, if I were to wear this for 8 hours, it'd be the first shade to kind of look like it's fading. But so far so good. I do really like it so far. I wiped off the excess on a paper towel, and now I'm going to go into a tiny amount of Soft Cloud, and I'm going to use Soft Cloud to blend out kind of these edges. Yeah, I just want it to look more like it's fading as opposed to just kind of abruptly disappearing. And Soft Cloud is just kind of a true pastel blue, so nothing special about it. I like screwed up the camera lighting, sorry. That's what it's looking like now. It's pretty good, honestly. I'm going to try and deepen up that purple shade. Under the lights, it looks a little bit less dark than it looks in the shadow, so I don't... Maybe it wasn't actually that dark after all and I kind of tricked myself again, but I do want to darken it just a little bit more. Okay, yeah, I really am liking how this is coming together. I guess the biggest thing for me so far is that these mattes definitely give off the vibe of like it's pretty easy to over blend them if you're not careful, so I'd say err on the side of under blending as opposed to over blending because they do blend out pretty easily. But this is what it's looking like so far. I'm gonna touch up this orange, of course. It's looking a little messy. So I'm just gonna go in with a clean brush and I'm just going to carefully blend the orange. I was a little bit messy when I initially applied it, and looking back I could have been more careful, but I'll just use this clean old brush and just kind of work on getting the edges diffused. That looks way better now, and you can just see just how easy and quickly these blend out. I am gonna put a little bit more on the lower lash line. I just feel like I could use it. That looks good. So now it's shimmer time, my favorite time. So I think what'll be really fun is, I think I kind of want to try like a gradient shimmer where, you know, I have these two shades here. I kind of want to try a gradient with them. So I think I'm going to try Sunlight on top of the yellow orange, and then I'm going to try this shade above the blue lavender. I'm going to try that. A little bit of fallout. So I'm just gonna layer it on carefully so to avoid the worst of the fallout. Yeah, that already looks so nice. Honestly, I could just leave it there. And this is one of the nice things about monolids, you know, you can really just put shimmers wherever you want. Alright, so now let's try Meteor and let's see what happens when I use it. It's really pretty, and I'm gonna switch to using a finger, I think, just so I don't get all this crazy fallout. These are like a glittery kind of shimmer. So they have a lot of glitz and glam to them, not super like foil smooth metallic. And they create a really beautiful mix where they meet actually. Yeah, you can see on my finger how it has that translucency to it. Translates really well on top of Meteor though. And that's what it looks like. Although I kind of covered up the whole thing, but you can still see the base underneath, so not all of my hard work got lost. A little bit of fallout, but nothing awful. So now I'm going to do the lower lash line, and for that I'm going to take Hallucinations, which is this darker shade here. I don't want the lower lash line to stand out too much. I need an inner corner highlight. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull Meteor because I don't really want to use Starry Sky. It's a little bit peachy. So I'm just going to pull Meteor to the center, and because there's no eyeshadow there, you can see it starts to look a lot more different. It just looks more like a glittery topper where you can see the translucency starts to shine through. So if you're not into these kinds of shades that don't really have a base and you can see whatever's underneath through them, then this shade will be a disappointment. But I do definitely love myself a really glittery topper shade, so I'm all for it. And I think because of the fact that you can see here, I'm using it on my inner corners on top of bare skin, and then I used it on my eyelid on top of Dream. They look like two different shadows, so that's a lot of fun. And then I'm actually going to take a little bit more and top off Hallucinations in the center. Definitely used a few more shades than I anticipated, but I think it's really fun and pretty. I love this. I'm gonna go put on some lashes and I'll be right back. And I'm also gonna finish my makeup. This is gonna be the finished look. I ended up going like all in on the orange for the rest of my face. I'm wearing the Cloud 9 from Doe. I'm just wearing these out and then I'll move on to the next pair. I tried using the new MAC Color Excess crayon gel. It's in the shade Permanent Vacation. It's this yellow one here, and it kind of swatches like this on my hand. I am disappointed because I paid almost full price for this, expecting it to be good. Like, it even got a good review from Peiliee and everything, but maybe I just have to like break through the first layer. Whenever I get around to making my next products I tried video in the next like decade, I'll include this and I'll see what my thoughts are. Obviously, as this is my first time using it, I have nothing to say yet, but the first impression, it looks more like a milky yellow than a true yellow, and I was expecting like a primary yellow liner, and it did not primary yellow liner. I am wearing the M Cosmetics Persimmon blush on my cheeks. So pretty. I really want a matte version of this color with a little more yellow. I did not use a highlighter. As you can see, this blush has plenty of glow all on its own. I did not need to put any more on top. But for the center of my face, my chin, my nose bridge, I used Flower Nose Revelation. And then for my lips, I lined my lips and then I used two of my favorite Romand Juicy Lasting Tint shades like ever. The first one is 10 Juicy O, like O exclamation point, and it is as orange as you can see, and I put this on as the base color, really making sure to take it out across where I had overlined my lips. And then I used Summer Scent number 3, which is more of a bright, vibrant orange red, and I put that in the center, and you can see that's the point shade, but you can see how the orange really just comes out as the red fades. It kind of almost is like the orange is peeking through, like blooming. This is like a really pretty juicy gradient lip. Love doing this kind of gradient lip work with my lips. And this is going to be the final look. But that's it. I'm going to move on to the next look. I'm having so much fun with this first look, and it's just leaving me feeling really inspired and really raring to go. So much motivation, which is so rare for me to have motivation to do anything, I swear. So I'm super excited, looking forward to doing these next two looks. So you'll see the next look in a couple seconds. Hi everyone, I'm back for look number 2. Today I used the VDL and Faber-Castell Serenity Primer. I wanted something a little bit more on the sticky side just because the mattes from the first look I used blended out super easily. I'm gonna go into Nebula, which is that really deep blue, and I'm just gonna kind of start working on blocking this all out. And I'm gonna be using a Sonia G Pencil Pro so that I can maintain some control. I usually don't like putting darker shades on the inner part of my eyelid just because I feel like it pushes my eyes closer together, but I want to try something today. I'm gonna see what happens. And I'm gonna worry about the blending later. I really want to focus on getting the shape right first. And then I think I'm gonna counterbalance that by putting a little bit on the outer corner as well, so that way I can kind of have darkness on both sides. I think that should help with balancing it. And I'll pull it out pretty far too, which is why I always draw my eyebrows so long, so that I can pull my eyeshadow out. So I think that's a really good starting point. Yeah, okay, I like how this is going. I think this should be a good base to work off. So I'm gonna mimic this on the other eye before things get too out of control. And I drew it a little bit high on this side. So I'll see if I can just kind of use my finger to erase some of it. Okay, so that's gonna more or less be the shape roughed out. So now I'm gonna switch to a smaller brush and work on that. And I'm going to start deepening it up. I'm getting a little bit of fallout with this shade. I got a little dot right here, but it'll be okay. And I can get it to look pretty much as dark as the pan, so I am pretty happy with that. Yeah, I really like how this is turning out so far. Okay, and now I'm gonna switch to a clean and tiny brush, so my favorite Hakuhodo one, and I'm going to take Soft Cloud and use that to try and blend out the edges a little bit. Okay, so as you can see, I was able to soften the edges out a little bit. I'm also gonna use the same shade, Soft Cloud, for the lower lash line. Yeah, okay, I like how that's coming together so far. Not as much of an epic fail as I was fearing it would turn into. Okay, so now I'm going to take that orange. So I'm gonna go into Solar. It's this very intense orange. And you can kind of see I took it up and out as well. You can kind of see the shape that I'm making that way. Pretty cool, right? I think it's cool anyways. And then I'm just going to touch up the dark blue a little bit. Yeah, I'm really liking how that's coming together. Alright, so that's what we're looking like right now. Honestly, it's a lot of fun. I really like it. You can see that I didn't really blend the shades together too much, very slightly, and particularly in the back I let the two colors be more or less separated, so that way they both kind of can stand out on their own really well. Okay, so I want to try out the shimmer Deep Space, so I'm going to take a Rephr 03. Deep Space looks like this. I want to try this on the inner part of my eyelid so that I can still have that shimmering inner corner that I feel like I kind of need, but without completely negating all the darkness so that it still looks dark, as opposed to just doing a cop out by throwing an inner corner highlight in there. Alright, and then I'm going to take another small brush and I'm going to go into Eternal, which is right here. Looks like it has a darker base as well, so I'm gonna lay this on top of the orange. I feel like these are alright dry, but I think to get maximum impact, you're gonna want to use them wet. And they are, you know, they are flaky, so I'm trying my best to not get fallout. I'm gonna spritz the brush, and then I'm gonna see if it goes on better. Yep, damp brush is gonna be the way to go for this. Okay, yeah, I really like how this looks. So as a finishing touch, I'm going to take Deep Space on the lower lash line, and I'm going to use it to kind of pull these two shades together. We could use a little more dimension, so I'm gonna go into Starry Sky, and I'm gonna take I dipped in very lightly, and as you can see, it gives off a more sheer appearance. And I'm just going to use this to top off the orange, and I'm going in very lightly. Yeah, you can see how that just adds a little extra kind of something special. And that's going to be the eye look. So far, I am digging the shimmers far more than I did in Hella, for sure. I do really like how they look. I do find them a little bit tricky to work with dry, but working with them damp obviously gets you the best results, and I know most people just dampen their brush anyways, or if you use the glitter glue, you'll be all set. These will look great. I really like how it ended up turning out. I was a little scared that I would ruin it, but I think adding the shimmer helps to counterbalance the darkness, and yeah, overall a good time. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish off this eye look off camera. I'm gonna do the rest of my makeup and I'll be right back. Okay, this is the finished look. I do need to get my bangs trimmed, but you can still see the eyeshadow through it. It's fine, right? These lashes are Morning Dew, and I've worn these lashes a lot by now, and they're pretty much on their way out. For my cheeks, I have the Etude House Joyful Tiger. It's a really cute color. It's actually a lot more orange than it looks in the pan. In the pan, it looks a bit milky, but on the cheeks, it develops a really pretty bright orange. And then for bronzer, I have the MAC Skin Finish and Cheeky Bronze. I'm trying to decide if I want to hold on to this or not. And then for my highlighter, I used my Coral highlighter from ColourPop. It looks like this. It's in Coastin. As I've said many times, I'm so salty I don't have a collection of all of these, and it looks like they're never gonna bring them back. Oh well, I guess. But I do have this one. I really like it. Really pretty. For lips, I have a new release from Romand. The Milk Tea Velvet Tint got a shade extension. Now these have a different applicator than the Zero Velvet tints. I find with this one you really have to wipe the applicator off or you're going to put way too much on. Now this shade extension range goes pretty deep. This is going to be Jasmine Tea right here. Really, really pretty. That's it for this makeup look. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video so far. I'm going to be back for a third and final look. I'm going to dive into the turquoises. I'm going to test out that really dark charcoal black. Hi everyone, I'm back for the third and final look using the Solmane II palette. I'm going to start off with Neptune. right here. It has a really pretty star embossing on it, and it comes off on the brush. Lots come off, so I'm just gonna kind of use this as the primary shade on my eyelid. I am testing out the Jaclyn eye primer today. It was on Morphe for like $7, so getting a little bit of fallout, but it's not terrible, it's manageable. And I just need to make sure I remember to knock off the excess off the brush, really. It blends out so easily. Yeah, that's a really nice blend right there. Not much effort involved. It does require some building, but it's so easy to use. I don't really mind having to build a shadow if it's easy to build. Already I've started to blend it out without even having to use a dedicated blending brush. Yeah, that looks really good so far. I like it a lot. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I really want to use more of this shade. I haven't really given it a fair shot. I want to use this on the inner part, and then I want to use this on the outer part. I think that'll be really fun to play with. So I am going to take some NYX glitter glue because I do know from the last time I used it that Starry Sky is chunky. So I'm going to use a little bit of glitter glue. And I just lightly tap it on with a finger. And you really don't need much, trust me, like this one tube could honestly just last like a lifetime. Okay, and now I'm gonna go into Starry Sky. Picks up okay on a brush. I imagine if I wet it, it might be a little bit better, but... Now I'm stamping it down over the glitter glue, and it looks so much better with glitter glue. And now you can really see gives off the effect of pressed glitter, but it's not pressed glitter. But it is definitely gonna be one of those, it's chunky and you need something to hold it down kind of shades. Yeah, and you can see how because it's translucent, it really works with the blue to create this really pretty mermaid effect. I love how this looks. I could just smack this all over my eyelid, but I won't. I'm now gonna go into Mercury, which is that turquoise. It looks to have a much more smooth appearance. And I'm gonna put this kind of just right adjacent to it. Yeah, this is that just general kind of smooth metallic. It's not quite as shiny as Deep Space Meteor or Hallucinations. This one is kind of giving me like hella shimmer vibes. Kind of the least impressive in terms of finish, but as a color it's pretty. But yeah, you can see on my finger, it's honestly kind of generic. I was hoping that this would be a lot more sparkly. It's still really pretty though. I will try to incorporate this charcoal gray-black shade here. So I'm gonna go into this very carefully. I use very little, so this shade is going to pack a lot of punch. I usually prefer something a little bit more buildable when it comes to my blacks, but try to work with this. I'm just gonna add some depth to my outer corner. I'm gonna go back into and go between this and Neptune. Yeah, I don't think I made the best decision there. I don't think I should have used that shade the way I did. So I'm just going to cop out by doing a black shadow wing because I nearly almost train wrecked myself. And then I'll put a little bit of this on the inner corner and call it a day. Do work with this shade carefully. The pigmentation caught me way off guard, and if you put on too much at once, it is going to have some trouble blending. So I'm just going to use this to make a shadow wing and be done with it. I'm the kind of person where if I see a black in a palette, I'm just like, what is this for? I really genuinely don't know what to use it for because I don't have the skill to use it to darken other colors. Yeah, okay, so this look could have turned out way better than it actually did. I apologize in advance. It's alright, it'll turn out. I'm just taking a little bit more Mercury to pizzazz up the lower lash line. I guess I was thinking to myself it would have been nice if I could have like done like a V-shape darker outer corner, but like honestly, given that I don't really have a crease, it's really hard for me to pull off that shape without it looking super strange. So I'll just leave it as this shadow wing cop out, and I think this looks fine otherwise, honestly. I'm going to take a little bit more of Neptune and I'm going to mix it with Soft Cloud, and I'm going to use that to just kind of go over the top part, just so that there's a little more blue visible over everything. Okay, so I'm gonna call this the finished look. It's not really what I anticipated. I don't really think it's as good as I wanted it to be, and it's alright. However, the front half is glorious. I'm gonna put on all of my makeup off camera and I'll be right back. So my bangs need to be trimmed and they're also kind of gross, so I have most of it pinned back aside from like a little bit because I feel like I still need just a little bit to kind of, I don't know, maybe it looks a little stringy, but I've always liked having at least just like a little bit kind of peeking out. It looks better when my bangs are shorter, I can promise you that. But this is the final look. I finished off my makeup look with some really basic face makeup since the eyes are pretty light overall. I didn't want to do anything that would, you know, kind of overtake my eyes. So I have just mascara. I'm using the Holika Among Us mascara in Define Volume. I have been really enjoying this mascara. I feel like it really makes my lashes so much thicker, and I think you can really see here how my lashes are like way more visible now, and they're also just really thick. On my cheeks, I have some bronzer or contour. I use the Hollywood contour wand from Charlotte Tilbury. And then for blush, I'm using the Baroque blush from M Cosmetics. It's a really simple beige blush. It has a little bit more pink to it, especially as I turn my cheeks. There is some natural pink glow in this blush, so it's a pretty unique kind of take on a beige blush. I do really enjoy the formula, so I do really like this. And then for my highlighter, I'm using Skywalker from Kaleidos. It's very, very slight. I just dabbed on a little bit with my finger, and so just for like that slight blue glow, I have it on my nose, my chin as well. I line my lips, and you know, with the rest of my face being so light, I did kind of want my lips to be a little bit more overlined than normal, just to kind of pull my face makeup together and kind of balance things a little bit. So I overline my lips a little more than normal, and then on top of it I'm using the YesStyle Slim Glow Matte Lipstick in 209, and it looks like this here. That's gonna be the look. That's gonna be my third look. So I've done 3 looks with the Solmane II palette. Overall, I've had a really enjoyable time. The only shade that was a letdown for me is going to be Neptune, because it was just like a super non-shiny metallic, like super boring. It's kind of what I would expect out of a shimmer in a naked palette is kind of the finish it's giving me. Definitely not what I like prefer from an indie brand. However, every single other shade in this palette worked really well, and I had a really great time with it. The only thing is that Black Hole is super pigmented, so work with caution. As you can see in the third look, I nearly messed up the entire look with that. So I'm not really one to use a lot of blacks in palettes. I don't really understand how to use them, nor do I even remotely have the skill to use them. I do know a lot of people hit pan on them really quickly, and I'm just like, how? But literally every other shade in this palette is beautiful. I love Starry Sky right here, but you are gonna really want to use some kind of glitter adhesive or super tacky primer to make it look its best, because it's very chunky. But as you can see on my eyes, it is so worth it to do that and to get this kind of finish. So pretty. So overall, I really enjoyed working with this palette. Blue and orange is like my favorite complementary color scheme ever, and it's a very popular one, so hardly the only one with that opinion. I think the mattes from Oden's Eye are just continuing to get better and better, and it's really great to be able to see them improve their matte formula so much. I just want their shimmer formula to stay consistent and awesome. I don't want to see any boring shimmers from them, because I know Oden's Eye has it in them to make really punchy, beautiful, sparkly, metallic foiled shimmers. So whenever I see one that looks like it could have come out of a naked palette, I'm just like, no, we don't do that here. I want Oden's Eye to stop doing those. But I still think, for me, I don't regret buying this palette. I really appreciate having it, and if you guys appreciate the colors, then I think you guys will really like this, especially the mattes. Use a tackier primer, I would say, because they blend so well. I don't think you need a super mattifying primer. Oh, and the pans do have a lot of kickback. I did get a lot of powdery, you know, clouds poofing everywhere, and if you're not careful, you will get fallout. So use a light hand and tap off the excess, and you'll be good to go. And that's it. That's gonna be it from me. Please let me know which look you liked the best. Let me know your thoughts on this palette, just whatever, in the comments. I'm always down there. I try to reply pretty quickly. And that'll be it from me. I hope this video helped you guys with making a decision. As far as I know, this palette is permanent, so I don't think it's limited edition, so you have plenty of time to decide. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.